You know, one of the best things about... Goddamn camera. There, how's that? All right, that looks better. Okay, so one of the best things about living in the Pacific Northwest, windstorms and internet outages aside, is the proximity to Deschutes Brewery. Because they make this absolutely fantastic thing every year called Jubelale, which is a festive winter ale, and it is absolutely fantastic. I love it. I'm not sponsored. I just really fucking love this ale. And anyway, that has nothing to do with what I wanted to talk about. Over the course of the past several days, I'm not going to lie and say I did a lot of art practice, but I did do some. And in the course of that art practice, I noticed a bunch of shit, and I have a big stack of books over here, and you'll notice that I've got like this stuff. Well, I got the synth lifted up, and I got all these books all over the place because I'm referring to the books and looking at stuff and figuring shit out. And I noticed something about Western art instruction as opposed to Asian art instruction, more specifically Japanese art instruction. And I'm going to kind of jump into this. I want to start out by pointing out, over here in the West, we do this really shitty sort of draw a circle, draw another circle, draw the rest of the thing kind of art instruction. And that's obnoxious as shit. But I'm going to get into that a little bit more a little later on. I want to kind of talk about the general concept first before I get into that. Eastern and Western people have very different ideas of what constitutes fundamentals. There's this difference in how we view fundamentals for beginners, and I think this goes to the heart of a lot of things, because one of the things that I also noticed is the same thing we have in learning languages. Western instructional methods just seem really fucking wrong-headed. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, this is effectively guaranteed to make you feel like shit and think it's a waste of time and give up. And that strikes me as exactly the wrong thing to do. You know, I mean, you want people to feel like they're improving and like they're making progress, but we keep pegging on the fundamentals. We keep sitting there and going, oh, well, you need to concentrate on your fundamentals, okay? You need to concentrate on your fundamentals, and then you make your way onto this other shit that you're going to learn to do. You can draw the stuff you want to draw later. Right now, work on your fundamentals. And we do a lot of this, and we get stuck in that kind of getting ready to get ready stage. And I've talked about that before, the whole getting ready to get ready thing, which is fucking stupid. Just, like, do the thing, you know? But I was also rereading Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art, which talks a lot about resistance. And kind of the problem is we view fundamentals very, very differently. From a Western perspective, okay? From the perspective of somebody on the left coast of the world, as opposed to over in Asia, Europeans, Americans, even a lot of your northern Asians like Russians and whatnot, we approach fundamentals as kind of this fundamental technical thing. Like a great example is just right up at the beginning of framed perspective. Very technical, very technical shit, very measure this and measure that and get this angle and check that angle and look at this and look at that. And if you've been watching the Sketch Weekly shows before we switched to Showing Up, you saw me talk a lot about that, and I'm going to continue talking about that here and there, but I'm kind of questioning the wisdom of it. And the reason I'm questioning the wisdom of it is that when you do this, when you focus on these very, very technical things, you have somebody that's working on something very technical and trying to get it right, and they get very bound up in trying to get it right. Like, I spent months working on perspective and going, how do you use an object in two-point perspective to figure out where the station point is? How do you do that? Like where does that become something that you can back project? Like, you can use the station point to find your measuring line. Can't you use anything in two-point perspective to find the same measuring line and then project that back to get the station point? I feel like you should be able to do that. I feel like that's a thing you should be capable of doing. But, yeah, that's apparently very difficult. And I'm actually, literally, while I'm sitting here talking about it, my brain's working and going, wait, I think maybe you can do, and God, that's such a pain. You would need a foreshortened line. If you had a foreshortened line, no, never mind. I can't really talk about the details of that. God, my brain has seized on that, and it won't let go of it. I've had a few. Maybe you could tell. But anyway. You get in all this technical stuff, and you're not producing any finished work. And because you're not producing finished work, you feel like it's a waste of time. You're doing all of this work, and you still don't remember all of it, and you can't keep it all in your head, and you can't make it all happen. And that's really frustrating, and it's really annoying, and it just makes you feel like, what's the fucking point? And then somebody else comes along, you're working on your fundamentals, you're like, I gotta get the trees, I gotta make the trees look good. And somebody else comes along and says, hey, I just signed into Midjourney and said, make me some trees. And you look at the picture, and you're a fucking idiot. You don't know how to paint. You don't know how to make trees. So you look at the picture, and the picture sucks, and the trees look like shit. But you're like, those trees are better than I can do. And all he had to do was, like, go to Midjourney and, like, run the fucking garbage farting machine, and it farted out the garbage. And look at that. It's better than what I can do. Why do I bother? Why don't I just go to Midjourney and use the garbage farting machine? Well, because it's garbage, and it stinks because of the farting. But you have to know what you're doing before you can tell that. That's one of those things I keep pegging on. I did do a lot of experimentation with Stable Diffusion when it first came out, when the open source release first came out. And the thing about Stable Diffusion and just like generative algorithmic art in general, I produced a whole lot of images where people have muscles that people don't have. And like, anybody can count the fingers on a model, or the arms for that matter. But do you know when a muscle on a person isn't a muscle that human beings have? You have to be fairly conversant with anatomy to know that. And I've been reading Hogarth forever, so I know all kinds of shit about anatomy. Doesn't make me any better at drawing it. That's the other problem, is these fundamentals don't actually make you any better. They don't make the process any easier. I got to clean my screen here because we're going to jump in and we're going to take a look at a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to talk about Mark Crilly's two-pencil method and his whole draw the rest of the owl bullshit that he's doing. And we're going to start, we're looking, all of the stuff that I'm going to show you is from right at the beginning of these books. And the two books that I went farthest from the start on are Hogarth's Dynamic Anatomy, because he literally does not begin talking about anything related to actually doing anything until page 69. You can't make this shit up. And the other one is, I have this book on drawing hentai girls. Yeah, their earliest lessons are stuff YouTube doesn't want me to show. That's a good book, though. That's what a good book does when that's the subject. Anyway, let's put on the glove and let's jump over here, and I'll show you some shit. And we'll start with Mark Crilly. And I'm not trying to shit on Mark Crilly, okay? It's this book, and particularly, it's what he's talking about. He's talking about hyper-realistic drawing, and because he's talking about hyper-realistic drawing, there's a certain way that has to unfold. But seriously, it's like, it starts out, draw the outline of the egg. Step 1 is draw the outline of the egg. Step 2 is add some shading for the egg. Step 3 is continue adding shading. Step 4, okay, step 4 is use your eraser to clean up the outline of the egg. And then when you get on to steps 5 and 6, okay, you would go, well, okay, I mean, that's not terrible, but yeah. Step 5 is to continue adding the darkest shading using a black colored pencil instead of a graphite pencil. And then you enter the final polishing phase. And after the final polishing phase, you do the last little things to finish up the piece. This is that draw the rest of the owl bullshit, and it's fucked up, okay? And I'm not shitting on Mark's art. I mean, Mark's clearly very, very good. I mean, you could trick somebody. You could show people this picture. And you go, see this picture? Look at this nice photograph. And they're like, wow, that's a good photograph. Well, it's actually not a photograph. It was drawn with pencils. What? And people lose their fucking mind. You know, that sort of thing is done all the time. And he's done a very good job, and he gets into very complex stuff. Like he does these very complicated scenes, and he's very good at what he does. But this particular book and the way that it teaches, he's got another one called The Drawing Lesson that I think is absolutely excellent. This one, not so much. And I think this was his first book. I think this was his first art book. And you know, you got to cut people a little slack on their first book, because they're not going to do the greatest job. The Drawing Lesson was really, really good. I don't have any pictures from that, but beyond this, if we go to Hogarth, okay, you can see here, if we scroll in. Page 69 is the first thing where he actually talks about proportions and measurements and the observations of changing proportions. Okay? And he jumps directly into this without providing you any real ability to do anything. He just helps you think about it. Whereas in this Japanese book, they start out with the differences between older and younger people and the differences between male and female faces. Okay? And then beyond that, you go just a couple of pages further, and when they start getting into the anatomy, they talk immediately about how the pecs change when you raise your arms as opposed to having them lowered, how the lats change, how the muscles of your back change, how the delts react. And over here, we've got specific coverage on the next page over. There's specific coverage of the muscles of the inner thigh. Nobody covers this. Hogarth himself, you go to his page You go to his section on the lower limb, okay? And it's like, you know, he does all of this stuff. But here, like, this is it. Right here, this little bit right here, that diagram, that is all the documentation you get on the inner thigh. This right here, an outer thigh, outer thigh, outer thigh, outer thigh. You go past that, here's more outer thigh, outer thigh. Inner thigh is concealed, only outer thigh. You can see the front and back. There's an inner thigh right there, but he doesn't really talk about it. He just has the word adductor. That's it. That's all. There's hardly anything in here about the inner thigh. There's like nothing at all to cover it. This bit right here, there would be some inner thigh there, but it's chopped off because he doesn't think it's important. Well, you know, if you're going to draw hentai, the inner thigh is important. You got to pay attention to the inner thigh. That's a critical area that you're going to have to draw a lot. And this book covers it, whereas none, and I mean none, of the Western books that I have cover this effectively. Anatomy for the Artist, Gino Barksay's, does cover it. God damn it. I've got a problem with the cabling on that synth. But to go on from this, if we go to Frame Dink 2 by Marcos Matthew Mester, or however it might be Matteo Mester, I don't know. It's something French. You know, the French pronounce everything wrong. Fuck them. But his area on characters goes directly into here are all of the muscles. There's nothing about how they move. There's nothing about how they change. It doesn't cover anything effectively at all. You come down here to the Japanese hentai girls, okay? I had to go fairly far into this, like to page 25. They're covering poses. They're covering actual poses that you might actually draw, all right? And not just like stuff. And these are very different ideas of the fundamentals. Barksay starts immediately with the skeleton. It's a very good skeleton, but the only Western artist I could find that actually did a good job at starting with something that was actionable, the only one, Jack Ham. Jack Ham comes out of the gate. Here's the head in 6 freehand steps. That is useful information right there. That's good. He's done a good job with this. He comes in, he comes out swinging with this. And then he goes immediately to more and more detailed construction. Head construction with a double circle. And then you move on to beginning the head front view and measuring things in eyes, experimenting with a flattened pencil. The eye, step by step. He goes into so much detail on eyes. He does a great goddamn job talking about eyes. There's all kinds of useful shit in here. The only other book I've seen go into that kind of detail is Stonehouse's Anatomy. But Stonehouse's Anatomy does the same Western horse shit of, and even though it's Sokga, he's a Korean artist, but Sokga does the same Western style horse shit of just constantly prattling on about shit that doesn't matter, like what is the nature of life and what is the nature of movement and what makes things dynamic and why do we care and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, oh my God, shut the fuck up. Can you tell me something that's useful? When you go to Hogarth's Dynamic Wrinkles in Drapery, okay? And I love Hogarth, don't get me wrong. I love Hogarth's style. I love the way that he teaches, all right? But then I have this Japanese book on drapery, on clothing and drapery. And here's the thing. When you go and you look at Hogarth, he talks a bunch about kinetic forces. I love this particular thing that he does, okay? This thing that he's doing right here is what he calls phase sequence projection, where you draw the same figure in multiple poses on the same sheet of paper. I love this. It looks fantastic. It's tremendously instructive. It helps you understand all kinds of stuff, sort of. You'll notice that he's drawn the arms in all of these different places, but he's only got one set of pecs drawn. Well, the pecs move and change as the arms move. He hasn't shown that here. He hasn't shown it at all. Why not? Because it would make the drawing too busy. It would look like shit. But this is useful for certain ideas. It's useful for certain concepts. Again, not sponsored, but Jubelale is fucking awesome. And I love this mechanism that he uses. It's fantastic. I fell in love with it back when he did the Tarzan comics. The Tarzan comics are just fucking amazing. It was incredible. But anyway, you eventually get to where he's telling you something that's useful in drawing, and he starts with dynamic thrust wrinkles. These are straight wrinkles that come from the body moving in a particular direction, and they follow the movement of the body. And while these are useful, while these are in fact useful like concepts, they're useful things to know about. Okay. The problem with all of this shit is that it doesn't help you. This is not enough information to draw wrinkled clothing. It's not something that you can use in an image to actually accomplish something. And because you can't use it to accomplish anything, you can study this for a long time and learn nothing. It's fucking worthless. Whereas if you go to this book, the first thing that they cover, I mean literally, you'll see the chapter heading. It's chapter 1-1. It's how to draw a t-shirt. It's right there, chapter 1. You see chapter 1 right up here in the corner here. I'll open up the book right here. 1-1. It's the first fucking thing they show you. How to draw a t-shirt. How to draw a t-shirt. And that's like, this is actionable. This is something, one of these poses is similar to the character that I'm drawing right now. And now, instead of drawing this, instead of drawing a naked figure, like Hogarth always does, you know, somebody who's wearing some clothes. It's ridiculous how good. And if we back up a little bit, if we take a look at the Hogarth drapery right here, what page is this? This is page 27. Page 27, he gets to that. Okay? So let's take a look at what page this is that we are in here. It's page 9. Well, what's on page 27? I'll tell you what's on page 27, hoodies. Right there. It's hoodies. How to draw hoodies. And it goes through this. It starts out with your short sleeve t-shirt, and it moves on immediately after going over how the t-shirt looks. Talks about the difference when a girl's wearing the t-shirt. Because, you know, anatomical differences. And you move on beyond that, and they talk even more. They talk about loose sweatshirts that are baggy and that fall down a little bit. And then the next page after that, they start talking about polo shirts and plackets and the collar, which is also useful on dress shirts. Immediately beyond that, there's more stuff about collars right here. Here's some stuff about how collars fold, how collars roll. And over here, now we get into the long-sleeved sweatshirt, because maybe it's not summer. Maybe your guys can't wear t-shirts in the manga that you're drawing. Well, here's a sweatshirt. And what if they want to hide under there are like 8 pages of sweatshirt stuff there. And what if they want to wear something with a hood on it? Here's how to draw a hood. You just go a couple of pages on. They talk about how to draw different kinds of trousers, all of this stuff. And it's so much more actionable. It teaches you stuff that you can actually use to get shit done. And that's just so much better than the Western thing that goes around with almost everybody. Not with Jack Ham, notably. Jack Ham, a very good job. I'm glad I have books by Jack Ham, because he's done an excellent job of not only doing art books that have shit that can actually be followed and produce meaningful results. They're written in a language I can understand and doesn't have to be laboriously translated over the course of several hours. They're like, I mean, for God's sake, this bit, there's this area right here, okay? There are 8 sentences of text on these 2 pages, and it's going to take me hours to translate those and figure them out and shit, because my Japanese vocabulary is awful, and I don't understand any of these fucking kanji. These kanji are complicated. It's really fucking difficult. That one's drawing right there. I've seen that on so many things, because, like, see? Like, there it is right there, and here it is right there. Okay, and so you just kind of, you pick these things up as you go. Here it is again. Fucking cables. I need new cables. I really do. These are old. All of the cables that I've got hooked up to all of this shit are like 20 and 30 years old. For God's sake, all of this stuff. I brought all this stuff from Virginia in the late 1990s. It's like the whole music studio aspect of my setup is all just like really old shit, except the Newmark scratch controller. That's fairly new. I got that like 6-7 years ago. Still works great, you know. But anyway, oh, there was something else I wanted to talk about. There's something else I wanted to mention. I have developed this new method. One of the problems that I have is I tend to sketch on a page. I was sketching arms, and then I immediately go and sketch over top of it. And what I want to do is I want to do that on different layers. Okay? I want to sketch on different layers so that I don't lose anything that I've been working on, and I can just work on it, and I can put something together, and I can have something to refer to later and go, yeah, that's the thing that I was working on. I was working on head angles, obviously, because of the stuff that I've been working on elsewise. Here's another effort at getting that upturned head angle. That what I've done is I've projected the side view, which is you know, that's a Hogarth thing. That's actually, that is from way in the back of Dynamic Anatomy. If you come all the way back to page 220 something. Come back around here, and you've got, yeah, the 9 principles of foreshortening, the figure in depth of space. Okay? And he's got this thing that he covers, which I think is like the 7th or 8th principle. Here he is talking about phase sequence projection on principle 6. And he's using it to illustrate the concept of perspective ellipsis. This is, yeah, principle 7 is using the profile view in projection to establish the side views of the figure. And you can see him doing something with that right over here. I've talked about this before, but, you know, I'm not going to make you go back and rewatch every video I've ever done. So the thing is, I got this new thing I do in my workflow. I get on my line art thing. I press Control A to select the whole layer. Now, I just draw whatever it is that I'm going to draw on that layer. And make sure I have a usable brush. So it's like, I'll do something like, say, okay, here's the spine and here's the shoulder line. So let's talk about, this is where the clavicles go, and over here, this is where the shoulders go. The shoulder blades fit in right there. And the spine of the shoulder blade, that's the It's the coracoid process, I think, isn't it? Something like that. And then there's over here, there's the clavicle, and then at the back, there's the spine of the clavicle, and these form a kind of tripod. 1, 2, 3, and over here on the side of the scapula, there is a little cup that the head of the humerus fits into. Okay? So this is a thing that I've been thinking about. And to kind of go a little farther on this. Here we have the ulna. The ulna comes down and it gets thinner as it goes. Because if you look at it from the side, okay, first of all, it's twisted. The bone is twisted to give it strength. So here we have the prominence at the end of the bone, and we call those the condyles. And here the ulna doesn't just sit there. It comes back behind the elbow. This is why your elbow doesn't fold all the way around, because it hits a little divot right there in the bone. Okay? Now, meanwhile, the radius right here, that fits here. And notice that it crosses over. And on top of that, as this comes closer to the wrist, it gets wider. So the interaction of these two things is like this. And when you rotate your wrist back and forth, these cross over each other. Because right here, you've got this one's on the inside and this one's on the outside. So here, this bit right here, the radius is on the outside and the ulna's on the inside, and you can feel the acromion process here, which is where it's locking and not letting your arm open all the way. And that bone is coming up at an angle. When you turn your wrist, okay? When you turn your wrist forward, like here's your thumb right here on the outside. And here's the fingers right here. Okay? When you rotate that inward, the radius here is going to cross over in front of the ulna. And then you're going to have your thumb up here, and your hand come down here, and your fingers come down here. And if you keep going, well, when you keep going, they cross over each other. And that is some bullshit. That makes drawing forearms really, really difficult because they twist over each other. I mean, they have to. There's no other way for them to work. They have to work that way. And it's really kind of genius when you look at it, because your hand is kind of anchored to this one, and your arm is kind of anchored to this one, but this bit and this bit, those rotate fairly freely over the joints. And that's what allows you to kind of flip your hand over and back, and you've still got this large, strong base attached to your hand here and attached to your arm here. You only have the little delicate part right there and right there. So anyway, that would be like a thing that I would go through and sketch and think about and work on. And then once I've got this done and I go, I want to think about something else now, I got this little button here, cut and paste. And when I click that, if you watch over here on the layer panel, if you watch over here, okay? When I click this cut and paste, it creates a brand new layer and makes it the active layer. But if I turn it off, it's cut all of that content from the original layer. So now I can go back to that original layer and I can do more work on that. This has been so fantastic for my workflow because I can just do this thing and I can go, okay, yeah, let's cut and paste that, turn off the layer and switch back to the line art layer. And then I can do more sketching or whatever and just scribble all over the place. And then I just go, yeah, one button, turn it off, switch to my line art layer, and I can keep sketching in what feels like the same layer. It's just made it so much faster and so much easier. It's just click, 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 and then I've got more space to work with. And I'm loving that. That's fantastic. But yeah, the important thing, the thing that I'm really trying to get at here, okay, the thing that I really want you to understand about all of this stuff is focusing on these fundamentals in a way that keeps you doing studies and doing stuff like this constantly. If you're always doing stuff like this and you're thinking about how does the arm work? How do the muscles of the back work? How does the hand work? How does the forearm operate? If you're thinking about this stuff all of the time, you're not doing finished drawings. And if you're not doing finished drawings, well, I mean, to put it bluntly, you don't have anything to share on social media. And if you don't have anything to share on social media, you may as well not be a fucking artist because nobody gives a shit, you know? Like, all I do is talk about politics on fucking social media because I'm an idiot and I can't stop myself from doing it. My Discord is kind of a politics-free zone. I try to keep that politics-free because there are a few people these days who have politics that I really don't want to hear about because it will change how I view those people as people. Since it kind of communicates that they don't think of me as people. They don't think of my friends as people. And I like to keep the political shit off of there. Which has lost me a few users, but, you know, fuck it. Who cares? Why would I want to be on a Discord with people that suck anyway? So much for that beer. I should probably go grab another one. Do I have anything more I want to talk about? Can I stop the video and go get another beer? Or should I just leave the video run and go get a beer? Wait a minute. The video's not live. I can just pause. Holy fucking shit. Oh yeah, I like that. That's really good. This is the best development since going away from the live stream model. That's fucking fantastic. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. So, I don't edit these videos, and the reason I don't edit these videos is if I go in and I watch them, I keep thinking I could do that better. And that's kind of the problem with me doing finished art pieces, is I get to a point in my art piece and I go, I can do this better now. And I want to throw it away and start over. But you never finish anything if you throw it away and start over. And I got all of these things that I like started work on and I didn't finish, and I went, you know, I have to be better at this before I do that. I have to be better at that before I do that. Cause it's like, I mean, like if I jump in here and I just go, you know, down here I've got this juniper tree landscape that I did, and I really want to improve on that. I don't have any like porn in here, do I? Okay, it doesn't look like I have any porn in here, but I gotta check that now and then. But yeah, I've got all of this. I've got all of this stuff in here that like I started. It's like I started doing fan art of Charlie Morningstar from Hasman Hotel, and I never got very good at it. So I just kind of went, and I just kind of abandoned it, you know? And I started doing this zombie pulling his guts out, and I just abandoned it. And I started doing this crowd on the street, and I abandoned it. And I started doing Osada Pecora leaping out of a building at you, and I just abandoned it. And then I've got all of this stuff. Like I've got this picture of Chio on the lamppost is another thing that I started working on, and I abandoned it. I don't have any porn in here, do I? I don't think I do. Okay, so there's definitely porn in the Gura folder, so I'm not going in there. But but I've got all of this stuff that I started and just never finished. And because I never finished it, I just go like, I'll go back to that when I'm better. And I sit there and go, when I go back to it because I'm better, am I going to want to start it over? Because I do that all the time. I do that all the time with stuff. And I just go, I could do a better job just starting from scratch now. Because I do it all the time with videos. You know, I used to make a lot of videos. And I would make the video, and then I would go to edit the video and clean it up. And so much of the video would be like, I could do that better. I could say that better. I could change that. I could make that a better part of the video. And I would just keep re-recording and re-recording and re-recording forever. I would be getting ready to get ready eternally. So I'm prone to that. I'm prone to this problem that I'm calling out Western artists on, including Bern Hogarth, like my problematic fave. And he's problematic just because of this, not because of anything else. Not that I know of, anyway. I hope he's not problematic for some other reason. I lost Neil Gaiman earlier this year, and I'm still unhappy about that. And I still, on some level, want to sit there and go, I don't know. It's like one of the allegations is like how he let somebody pay their rent for 2 years, and I just scratch my head and go, I paid my rent like that for a while. But where's the I think that's it there. I'll just turn down the volume for the synth all the way down to nothing. I think that's accurate. Is that an accurate label? That's labeled for the concert. That's labeled for the Alesis D4, and I know it's not the Alesis D4. That's my guitar. And the computer's labeled for my Emax 2 sampler, which I don't even have anymore because it didn't work. It broke. Still have all of the 3.5-inch floppies for it, though. I wonder if I have anything that can read the disc format of those. I almost certainly do, but I would need to get a 3.5-inch floppy disk. Wait, I have one. I have one in the other room. But that's a regular IDE. It doesn't take a SATA connection. Do I have a SATA adapter? I think I have a SATA IDE adapter somewhere. I'm getting sidetracked. I've had a few. I'm having another. Anyway, the Japanese instructionals that I have, number one, they're fairly light on text most of the time. There's the occasional wall of text in here, like specifically in the anatomy book. There's and a whole bunch of stuff here. That would take me a day and a half. And as it is, I can only get through like 4 pages of this book in a day because it takes so long to translate everything. And I keep expecting to get faster and better at it. But man, it's not easy. And it's like, I mean, you take these books on learning the kanji, you know, and they try to They try to give you all of this complex technical detail and shit, and they don't just go, hey, here's what these common things mean. They don't do that. And Heisig actually does that. And I've got Heisig's books on Kindle. So I could get a screenshot of them, but I don't feel like bringing up my Kindle, waiting for it to come online and all of that happy horse shit. But kind of the issue that I see here is, and it's not just an issue with the books, it's an issue with me. The Western instructionals say, practice your fundamentals, do studies. And I'm pretty well disposed to, it doesn't matter what I'm drawing here, so I am pretty well disposed to just do studies and do practice for fucking ever. Like, I will do that. I've been doing that for 6 years so far, 3 years online. And that's a trap you could fall into where you don't actually get anything accomplished. I need to get things finished. That's one of the things I was talking about the past couple of weeks. I need to actually do finished art. I'm capable of doing finished art that can go in a game. I'm not necessarily capable of doing a premier art piece to serve as the cover art for my game, but I could definitely do the sprites that go into my game. I can definitely do the animations that go into my game. I can definitely do something that's actually done and finished and makes a difference and gets me closer to having a completed game. And I'm struggling with that. And if you're struggling with that, I don't really have a whole lot of help for you because I'm in here struggling with you. But maybe it helps to know somebody else is struggling with you, and that they're going to continue to struggle, and that they're going to push for that, and you need to push for that. You need to push for doing what you can do, and not reaching for the sky every single fucking time. Or I could just say fuck it, and go ahead and use shitty art. Like, it would be productive just to like remind myself, okay? Let's jump on in here and we'll take a look. My core role model a lot of the time is the Studio Dean production of Higurashi no Naku Koro ni. And here's the thing. Streaming assets. CG all. The one that I always pull out, okay? The one that I always want to, like, grab and pull out and go, this is my baseline for the type of work that I want to do, is Sonozaki Mion. Okay? And let me bring up the screen again, and I'll turn off the line art we're looking at. So here's let me turn all of these off. Oops. So here's Sonozaki Mion as she appeared in the Studio Dean production. Okay? And here is Sonozaki Mion as she appeared in the original. This is the exact same. God damn it. Is the exact same pose. This would have been used in the exact same situation as the original one we're looking at over there on the right. This is what the game shipped with. And the one on the right is my role model for like what I actually want my art to look like. Higurashi started with absolute fucking garbage art. I think it's important to recognize that. I think it's important to realize, yeah, that was shit. And it still got released. And it still became one of the most popular visual novels in the genre. Because the quality of your art really isn't that important. It really doesn't matter that much. And I beat myself up about it. And I think everybody beats themselves up about it. But it just isn't that big a deal to have shitty art. What the fuck is up with 3 highlight lines on this? Like, seriously, okay? Like, honestly, what the hell is going on with this? Highlight line, highlight line, highlight line. What is up with 3 highlight lines? There's only 1 highlight line on the Studio Dean version. The Studio Dean version, that's what I want my art to look like. But meanwhile, the game was published with this thing on the left. And everybody loved it. And it was popular as hell. It's... I mean, you see it, right? Like, you're looking at it. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's just, you know, it's the burrito problem. I don't know if I've ever talked about the burrito problem here. The burrito problem was first brought up by Ali Brosh. And she made a post on her blog once that was immensely popular and went viral. And she said, now the whole thing is that mostly what I post is burritos. But I just posted a fighter jet. And, you know, the next thing I post is it's going to be another burrito, which is fine if you like burritos. But if you're expecting a fighter jet, a burrito is really fucking disappointing. So she was saying what you need to do is when you've been posting burritos and you post a fighter jet, you gotta post like the worst fucking thing ever. And that way, it resets expectations. And then after you do like a dog turd or whatever, then a burrito seems pretty good next to a dog turd, but a burrito next to a fighter jet, no. So if you're going to let people down, I mean, it's no less shocking to go from fighter jet to burrito than to go from fighter jet to dog turd. So if you go from fighter jet to dog turd, it's a shock, but it's such a huge shock to go from fighter jet to burrito anyway, that going all the way down to dog turd is really not that much worse. But going back up to burrito, well, that's pretty good. So you need to follow up your fighter jet with a dog turd, is what I'm saying, which isn't really applicable to me because I don't have a fighter jet. Although I found this fairly interesting. Oh, shit. Wrong button. I found it fairly interesting that I talked about games instead of art, and I went almost to 200 subscribers, like immediately. I had 25 subscribers all at once. It's not hard to figure out. That's like a double-digit percentage of subscribers in the last 28 days. And it's like, you know, I'm in this group where we post how many subscribers we got in a given week. And like 90% of the time, I'm like, I got 2. And every once in a while, I'm like, I lost 1. And it's just really fucking ridiculous. And people are always like, oh man, I feel really bad for you. And I'm like, the point of this channel is not to grow. Okay? The channel growth is a message to you. It's not an end in itself. Channel growth is a message that people like the thing that you just did. So people like when I talk about games. They don't like so much when I talk about art. So, you know, sorry about talking about art, but I'm also kind of talking about teaching. And that goes back, you know, in game teaching, it's the same general kind of thing. But it's almost the opposite. There are all of these game programming tutorials out there in the world that tell you, here is how you make this exact game. There's a tutorial out there on YouTube for how to build a Vampire Survivors clone. If you deviate in any way from that tutorial, you're not going to be able to follow the rest of it. And in game programming, that's a really, really huge problem, because chances are very good your game idea isn't Vampire Survivors. It's Vampire Survivors but, or Vampire Survivors plus, or Vampire Survivors without. There's a modification. And if you watch somebody teach you very, very specifically, like how to draw the wrinkles in the t-shirt, then it's not going to teach you how to handle the exceptions. For that, you need somebody Western. You need somebody who's going to talk to you about dynamic thrust wrinkles and how they work. And if you're just looking at here's how to draw the wrinkles in a pair of trousers, that's not going to help you with other stuff that's not exactly a pair of trousers. Like, one of the immediate thoughts I have is harem pants. I don't think there's any coverage of harem pants in here. Is there? I think I may have just seen some. That would be really fucking amazing. That's, oh my God, it does. It has MC Hammer doo-doo pants. That's, oh my God, it really does cover like everything. That is ridiculous. But there's going to be something. There's going to be something that you want your characters to wear that isn't covered in this book. Okay, I tried to think of something and I couldn't. So, fucking good job there. But for that, you're going to need to know the real fundamentals. You're going to need to know the actuality of how to draw crossing wrinkles. What the fuck? Hogarth has a whole different direct thrust wrinkles. Wait a minute. Let me check the... I haven't really read this book very much. Direct thrust wrinkles, bend wrinkles, crossing wrinkles, compression wrinkles. That's a real thing. Fragmentation wrinkles, swag and hanging wrinkles. That's the drapery fold, or the diaper fold is what we call that usually. Trap enclosure wrinkles. Okay, and flying wrinkles. What the fuck are flying wrinkles? Did he just make up his own vocabulary? Oh no, it's like wrinkles when you're flying. But he really did just make up his own vocabulary for drapery and wrinkles. And that's going to be hard to put into place because he's got like he's got this thing here when he talks fragmentation wrinkles. What does he mean by fragmentation wrinkles? What the fuck is that? It doesn't really say, but yeah, swag and hanging wrinkles. That's the drapery fold. That's the diaper fold, right there. There it is, the diaper fold. Di-aper. That's where the word apron comes from. You know, the apron. It's that the apron hangs this way off of the body. It's an apron fastened in two places, as opposed to the full body apron, which I'm sure they cover in here. I'm sure they cover the apron. They have to cover the apron. If they don't, it's in the hentai book. Yeah, they don't cover it, but I'll bet you it's in the hentai book. I bet you they cover the apron in here. I bet you they cover the naked apron in here. Let's see what we got here. We got clothing. We're getting close to where it would be. Did I pass it? Okay, apparently that wasn't the right. Is that it? I don't think that was it. Shouldn't be it. Well, it doesn't matter. But yeah, the apron, it's got to be in here. They have to talk about the apron. How can you not talk about the apron? You have to talk about the maid outfit. We're getting close to the end here. Oh my God. Do they not talk about the apron? Do they not talk about the maid outfit? That's ridiculous. They had to talk about the apron. It has to be here. Oh my God. If I could read Japanese, I could look in the table of contents, but I can't, so that's not an option. It's so ridiculous that I have these books in Japanese. I can't fucking read them. What is wrong with me? To be fair, they were a gift. Yeah, they actually don't seem to have an apron in here. Do they really not have one in here either? It would be in the business attire. Because it's a uniform. No, we've gone directly to school uniforms. Yeah, so yeah, it's not in there. Do I have it in? I'm sorry. I've got to find out. I've got to have a maid outfit in here somewhere. There's got to be a maid outfit covered somewhere in this series of books that I've got. It's likely to be in the Lolita fashion. Oh my God. I really do not have anything with a maid outfit. Oh, that's awful. I have a photo reference, but I don't think I want to show that. Anyway, what was I doing over here? Layer 2, let's go ahead and turn those off. Oh, I don't need to turn those off because there we go. All right, yeah, I've definitely had a bit too much to be making videos. Okay. So let's get serious here. The core of the issue that I'm talking about here is that if you want to produce finished work, which you should, you need to be looking for instructional materials that teach you to produce finished work. Jack Ham is really good. Bridgman's also kind of good. Bridgman did a book called The Book of 100 Hands, which is really excellent because one of the things that he kind of went over there was he said, you don't have to learn the anatomy and structure of the hand perfectly so that you can draw a hand in any position. Because 90% of the hands you draw are going to be in the same few positions. So just find those positions and learn to draw those. That is the right one. There we go. So yeah, the Book of 100 Hands does an excellent job of going, just learn how to draw these hands. But it does still go over, like, the theory of how to draw hands, because you have to. But, I don't know. We're over an hour now. Holy shit. And I'm just kind of rambling incoherently. You could stop watching at any time. I won't be offended. Just make sure you like, comment, subscribe, whatever the fuck on your way out. All of that happy horse shit with the little YouTube dance. The important thing is to understand that your instructional material needs to support your actual end goal. And most of my instructional material, most of the stuff that I read, most of the stuff that I look at, most of the stuff that I study is geared toward endless practice, endless refinement. And what I really need to worry about is something that focuses on producing results, like this one, which gives you it gives you actual step-by-step bits on completed pictures. It works its way through a single picture from beginning to end until it's done. That's geared toward producing a finished project. And this actually has 3 different images in it. 2 of them are done in Clip Studio Paint, so they can refer to specific tools. And the last one is done in Paint Tool Sci. So that's kind of directed in the way that I want to go. Right? But if I want to produce more finished pieces, and I do want to produce more finished pieces, my study methods and my study materials have to be geared toward producing finished pieces and not just producing endless practice and studies. There needs to be finished work coming out the other end. And for a while, I was kind of doing that. I was kind of doing that with the landscapes. And then I wanted to get the characters into the landscapes and into the settings. So I had real completed pieces. That's one of the things. There's a fetish model, Tish Fee, that I used to follow on Facebook. I think I've mentioned her before. every photo shoot she does inherently involves the setting. The environment becomes a part of the photo shoot. She's never just like there standing in the middle of it. She's interacting with the environment around her every single time. And that's a huge part of what I want going on in my finished work, is the characters need to be interacting with their environment, and the environment has to fit that interaction. But that's just talking about the art. That's not talking about the video game stuff. And I do need to kind of focus on the video game stuff so that I can get that out there and make that shit happen. Anyway, this has gone on way too long. Way too much yapping. Way too much stuff. But, hey, thank you guys so much for being here, for showing up, just like I do every fucking week, even when the power's been out all week and the internet's been out all week and everything's been absolute dog shit all week. What a great way to go into the Thanksgiving weekend. But hey, my kids are coming up to visit. That's always nice. I love them and I miss them, and it's always good to see them. God. They're not kids anymore. They're both adults. Connor just turned 18. Logan's about to turn 21 in a couple of months. Man. I don't have kids anymore. I have grown-ups. Oh, don't I feel fucking old. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Okay, bye.